It's no secret that furballs are synonymous with cats. But what could be a secret, especially for new and novice cat owners, is the potentially deadly threat that furballs or hairballs can pose to your pet. Furballs and the ingestion of furballs, it's all somewhat of a necessary evil. The same feline tongue that acts as the cleanup crew is unfortunately the same tongue that gathers up fur and then inadvertently swallows it. And while this process is normal and almost impossible for a cat to avoid or for you to truly stop, there are several risks involved. And although quite rare, choking is one. In most cases, furballs are swallowed, properly digested, and then they exit out of your cat's body with no issues. However, at other times, furballs are swallowed, and that fur just doesn't quite sit well on the stomach, and not long after, that pesky fur is sent right back up the chute, and we all know what happens next. A lot of hacking and regurgitation. And while this is quite gross, to put it lightly, to put it mildly, I should say, this is still very much normal. Now, it shouldn't happen often, but felines, especially long-haired felines, will likely cough up a hairball a couple of times a month, maybe 2 or 3 times a month. With all of that said, the next issues, or events, if you will, they are not so normal, and in fact, they could place your cat's life at risk. Furballs that do not pass, either as waste or through the process of regurgitation, can become trapped within the intestines, thereby blocking the digestive tract. Lethargy, lack of appetite, and just an overall malaise will set in over the course of 24 to 72 hours when this type of episode is taking place. Upon diagnosis, the use of a laxative to guide the hairball out or surgery, the last resort, those are typically the core options that are available for your cat and for you. Okay, now that I've laid out a bit of the foundation for this topic, I'd like to address the very heart of today's subject, and I'll speak to it the very best way that I know how, courtesy of a horrible personal experience. My cat Frosty, just a couple of years ago, choked to death, more or less right in front of me due to a furball. Frosty was a long-haired cat, only about 4 years old at the time. His fur was quite beautiful, almost silky, a touch thick, but almost silky, if that makes sense. Never matted, no real issues. However, the main concern with his grooming was his seemingly effortless ability to gather loose fur, and I mean a lot of it. This was an issue, and for as much as I tried to keep things in line, one afternoon he started to hack. The sound was terrible. It was almost like a bark from the largest dog on the planet. Frosty released 2 or 3 of these barks, and then he went silent. I was not in the same room at the time of the barking. The barking, though, is what did get my attention. As I came upon Frosty, he was on his side. I noticed almost immediately that his eyes were in a fixed position. I picked him up, and without going into more details, it was over. Quite literally, in the span of possibly 10 to 12 seconds, he went from awake and vibrant to losing his life. From the time I heard the sound and walked about 15 feet, he was gone. As for the exact cause of death, Frosty had ingested a large furball, and he was unable to pass it. The tricky part was he showed no obvious signs of discomfort, nothing that raised any red flags. However, what was taking place, and what I did not know, is that this furball was being forced right back up. The only issue was, and the fatal issue at that, the furball wasn't able to make it out. It had become lodged in the back of his throat. Those barking sounds? That was Frosty's last-ditch attempt to clear the blockage, but it was simply impossible. The vet said the fur was so far back in his throat that nothing could have been done, even in real time. Nothing could have been done. Essentially, once that furball formed, it was only a matter of time before it would head right back up the pipe and become lodged. Frosty's situation when discussing the topic of furballs, what happened to him is incredibly rare. But I offer this story to you today as a cautionary tale, and I tell you right now, responsible grooming, the use of proper combs and brushes, I just can't stress that enough. Even if your cat's long fur is gorgeous and there's not a mat or tangle in sight, comb that cat. Brush that cat. The care you give your pet right now, today, could be what saves your cat's life. And to the viewers of Senior Cat Wellness, anything that you would like to add, any personal stories to share, Furballs are just nothing to ignore, and it's so easy to fall into the trap of just thinking that cats and furballs, whatever. That's just part of the journey. It's so easy to brush it off until Frosty. My cat Burl, and if you're a regular, you know the old man Burl. He died at the age of 20 or 21 a few years ago. He was the super senior. Great cat, wonderful life. But Frosty, he was young, with many years ahead of him. Burl's passing, I got it. It happens. Old cats, it happens. Frosty, young and healthy Frosty, choking to death on his own fur. Unexpected, to say the least. Ladies and gentlemen, groom your pets. If you take nothing else from this video, groom your pets. To the audience, the comments section is all yours. And as always, I do thank you so very much for taking some time out of your very busy day to join me right here at Senior Cat Wellness. Did you like what you heard today? If you did, please feel free to like and share this video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, please groom your cats. And we'll talk to you later.